Do you think I'm being too cynical in my assessment of this op-ed as basically a political document by President Biden?
Only a little. I think you are being somewhat too cynical in the fact that the immunity decision was really an earthquake. It was an earthquake across the board, and not just for Democrats. A lot of people were really shocked by that decision because, let's be really clear, it flew in the face of the Supreme Court's own jurisprudence. So there is a line of cases, really starting with the Nixon cases, though it goes further back than that, making clear that presidents are not above the law. And what the Supreme Court did was to take the one case that in some sense goes the other way, that has to do with civil liability, and to say that in this one narrow arena having to do with civil liability, we're now going to apply that to this novel question of criminal liability. But none of the other cases, including the 2020 case of the Trump v. Vance case, really was in line with this decision. So it was a major break.
Well, let me ask you, Right, but apart from the legal analysis of it, right, I want to focus on what President Biden is saying, right? Let's even if assume you think that the opinion's wrong, et cetera, he's suggesting a constitutional amendment. I mean, there's no way a constitutional amendment is going to pass with 3/4 of the states supporting it, et cetera. It does seem pie in the sky, no?
I agree with you that it's pie in the sky, and that's one reason why I wrote an op-ed for Bloomberg Law with my co-author, Richard Painter, in which we pointed out that under the actual immunity decision, an awful lot is left for lower courts. Most importantly, the question of what constitutes an official act. So legislation, for example, and that's not a legal, that's not just a legal point. There's something he could be proposing, which is not pie in the sky, which is not a constitutional amendment, but is a piece of ordinary legislation that might have a hope of passing. And I think you're right that a constitutional amendment is very unlikely to pass.
All right, look, I don't think any of this legislation has a chance of passing, but let me ask Ilya Shapiro.
Yeah. Look, people get upset every June, July with the certain decisions. I wouldn't have thought this one is that big compared to Dobbs overturning Roe v. Wade or the gun case brewing from a couple of years ago. That tends to rile people up more than a rather broad and ambiguous decision, which, as you said, leaves things to the lower courts. But look, there's a reason why President Biden, along with Bernie Sanders, were the only two Democratic candidates running in the 2020 primary that were against court packing, that is, expanding the court for political reasons. And if your reading of this proposal, Dan, is correct, that the term limits, which in the abstract we can get behind because it would get rid of kind of arbitrary vacancies and morbid health watches over octogenarian justices, but if what it would do would instantly, or within the next 5 years, say every 2 years with a vacancy per the proposal, get rid of the three most senior Republican appointed justices, well, that's the same thing as just adding 3 justices when you like it. And ask FDR, who was reelected in a landslide in 1936, what court packing is all about. It inured to the Democrats' detriment then, and I think it probably will today. And this is so pie in the sky that even the term limits, which again has a lot going for it, especially that it would seem to increase public confidence in the Supreme Court, would require a constitutional amendment. I think it's too clever by half to argue that by legislation you can change the part of the Constitution that says that federal judges serve during times of good behavior, meaning unless they're impeached.
But it does seem we all agree that none of these proposals are actually going to happen. So, regardless of whether you agree or don't agree.
It's a political
message. Claire, real quick.
To run on.
No, I'd like to disagree with that.
I agree with Ilya. Go ahead, Claire. Go ahead.
Ethics reform has been on the table for a long time. And that is statutory in the lower courts, and it can be statutory in the Supreme Court. And there is absolutely no reason why Supreme Court justices cannot be held to the most basic standards of ethics, namely that they need to get their personal finances disentangled from their role as Supreme Court justices. They need to recuse when they have a conflict of interest. And there is no reason that we can't have an enforceable.
None of them, other than perhaps Sotomayor in one of her publishers' cases, has had a conflict. There are disclosure rules. They voluntarily.
Look, I don't know about that.
I can't agree with that. I can't agree with that.
And they've adopted a voluntary.
No. Everyone's going to stop. Everyone's going to stop. Mic's down, please, for a second. Mic's down. All right, look. I think Ilya's absolutely right about the practical points here. I disagree with Ilya on whether there's been conflicts. But Claire, on your point, I asked the question: Is this going to happen? And you said you thought I was wrong when I said it's not going to happen. It seems you agree with me; it's not going to happen, but you think it ought to happen.
No. On the third point, I think it will happen.
It's not going to happen.
It will happen.
In this Congress, how are the Republicans?
There is going to be Supreme Court reform.
Hang on, Ilya. One sec, Ilya. One sec. Okay, you don't know when it's going to happen. Okay.
Supreme Court.
Okay, that's different than
reform. Okay. Mark my words on this.
I agree.
We have gotten to a boiling point.
But mark my words. Right. But mark my words, it's not going to happen before November.
Anymore.
That's
it's not a conflict to have.
Anyway.
It's not a conflict to have rich friends.
I don't want to debate the conflict again.
That's fine. But look, one new point is that it is unconstitutional for lower court judges or a congressional committee to police the Supreme Court. So that's yet another problem with this proposal. This is a solution in search of a problem.
That is another problem. All right, Ilya, Claire, I agree that I think you're right that is a problem, because one of the suggestions is that lower court judges would be the ones to make the decision.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your cable provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.